We looked at Neptunia Sisters vs. Sisters a couple of videos ago, but now it's time to dive into the limited edition, which you can get at Iffy's online store, both the North American and European store, and I think it's still in stock in both stores actually. Like I said in the other video, this game was provided by Idea Factory, which I'm very thankful for. That being said, I always say what I think about something, whether, I had to pay money for it or not. If I was forced to say good things, I wouldn't talk about it. So this is what came in the mail: the limited edition box, a trading card, the game itself, and a very big mouse pad, or I guess you could also call it a desk mat or something like that. I got the PS5 game, but everything is the same no matter if you got the PS5, PS4, or Steam version of the limited edition. Yes, there's even a Steam version. It just doesn't come with a physical game, which we'll touch on later. Here's the trading card. It has spot varnishing, which basically means that certain parts are shiny while others are not. The varnished part is obviously the shiny one. I think that's a nice touch. The card depicts Nepgear and co having fun on a winter's day. Lovely illustration, though I don't think that's Sunako who drew this one. The art style looks different. The game case itself is the same again, whether it's a PS4 or PS5 game, except obviously with the correct console branding. Nepgear on the front in her HDD form. As is often the case, the cover of the Western release is changed a bit to obscure the cleavage. We've seen this numerous times before in Nep games, and it's true here again as well. The back is laid out pretty good actually. Sometimes there's more than one language, which really forces visuals to become tiny and, things like that. But there's only English to deal with here, so there's enough space to show screenshots and some design elements without looking like a cluttered mess. Inside we have the disc, which actually has the same image as the front cover, except it's adapted to fit into this format instead. The cover is reversible. The back cover stays the same except for the barcode being gone. But more importantly, the front cover uses the same image used on the trading card. Again, like I said, I quite like the image. Probably my favorite part is Ram and Ram with the little cat ear hats. Unfortunately, and as you've probably noticed, the game has no spot in the LE box. It just lays around separately. Here's the mouse pad. It's quite flexible, so it's quite easy on the palms and hands. The image shows the four goddesses, their sisters, and some of the new characters in the game. The print is not like super sharp, but it's still alright. It's also a little bit desaturated looking. I think that's down to the material that it's printed on. Not really a big deal, just a nitpicky detail. It does look good, and I quite like it. Here's the limited edition box itself. It has the little sisters doing a, jump pose with the sky and digital effects being in the background there. Not bad. There's been more creative LE covers in the past, but I wouldn't say this is bad or anything. Perhaps slightly unimaginative. I do like the transformed versions of each girl on each of the sides doing poses or hand gestures. Kind of a fun detail. The backs of LEs can be quite bare at times, but at least we've got something going on here with the silhouettes of the girls being the focal point. Opening the thing up reveals the graphics go, they kind of roll over from the cover to the inside so that there's no visible hard cutoff line. Some Nep LEs in the past had some nice designs specifically made to jazz up the interior panels, but that's not really, why that is like that, I guess. But the bottom half does have some colored interior panels too, so it does look better than just having that be, bare paper or cardboard or whatever, or just white. The first item here is the Steelbook. Again, the little sisters on the front, but the image is different to the LE box art. The back shows some of the new characters. I like the slightly darker purple look compared to the box art. It differentiates it from the other items a little bit. Plus it reminds me of the original PS3 game a little bit about, what kind of color palette they used there. The inside has R4 and it shows her two forms there with this sort of shard or fragmented design. I thought that was quite creative. Left is a manual holder, and on the right it's the thing that holds the disc. Overall a nice looking thing, but I still find it weird how the Steam version still gets the Steelbook despite the lack of a physical copy. But I suppose you can't just remove the Steelbook either. Then you're just left with a void, I guess. And then you'd have to have a thinner LE, and then that would introduce a bunch of costs, I suppose. You may have noticed that all the items are held in with trays, which is very common in Neptunia LEs. We've seen that for years. Underneath we have the soundtrack, which is in a jewel case. Made in the States too, I noticed. Nepgear in HDD mode on the cover, signature blue, pink, and purplish colors, and sci-fi visual elements here and there. The CD is interesting because it shows Nepgear as an outline, but it's not like a colored outline. It's the shiny, unpainted parts of the CD that make the outline. Let's talk about what's on the CD. There's 9 songs in total. They're all instrumentals and mostly electronic, though a bit of guitars are here too. I quite like the new songs. The drums have an unexpected drum and bass-like thing going on, but I wouldn't say the songs are of that genre. It's more like it's a way to make the songs feel more fast-paced and exciting, by just having that beat going on. But in terms of the rest of the song, it's more like this synth-heavy stuff we've heard in the past. In terms of quality, yes, it's all brick walled, so don't expect any real dynamic range. Unfortunately, the album has a congested sound to it. You could suggest that the brick walling contributes to that, but honestly, there's plenty of brick walled music with excellent tonal separation, so that's not really an excuse. Instruments and sounds start overlapping on the frequency spectrum where the songs get busy. This is quite noticeable on songs with guitars, for example. There's just too much stuff in the mid-bass area, and the area between the bass drum and guitars, these gets all muddled up. I already said it's all instrumental, so there's no vocals, but there's not even the theme song itself on there. You'd think they'd throw the opening in there, but no, that's not the case. Next up is the hardcover art book. It's the same cover as the cover art, but not censored. And the book itself is the same format as we've seen for years in Neptunia LEs. This one here has a matte finish. Inside it says there are spoilers, which is usually the case, but I think this is the first time there's actually a warning there about that. There's a bit of a sum up on the Neptunia series itself in the beginning. There's also character profiles, and I'll stop about there since the illustration sections will show some cutscene illustrations from the story. There's also backgrounds used during dialogue sequences, and the end features some concept art and sketches. So yeah, that is the Neptunia Sisters vs. Sisters limited edition. Overall, I'd say it's not the most original LE of the series. That title would probably go to something like Super Neptunia RPG or Virtual Stars, or actually Four Goddesses Online also had some very interesting stuff going on. But still, Sisters vs. Sisters is very nicely done. I think the colors are quite pleasant. The illustrations are also quite good without the problem of, seeing the same images being overused over and over again. The set of included items is quite standard, but there is a mouse pad, which I think is probably the most unique thing that comes as part of the LE. I'm always happy to have a Nepgear-oriented LE too, so that's a bit of a bonus for me. But I still wish that the game case had a space in the LE box instead of just being a loose item. And honestly, why not just include a disc with the Steam version? There's Steam games on disc like Skyrim or Mafia 2, for example, so it would have been nice to have a purpose for the Steelbook. So yeah, that's that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think of this limited edition, and I'll see you again in the next video.